Hello and welcome to Seemingly Unpopular, Season 2, Episode 6. Before we get started, just a little friendly reminder to those of you who are listening to our audio version of our podcast, we also have a video version of our podcast over on YouTube. If you'd like to check that out. If you'd like to check that out, the link will be in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Chuck, let him see you.
And here we are.
Tongue-tied and all, but we're here. And a very warm welcome to all of you.
Check that out.
Check that out. You should probably go and check that out.
Go check it.
And only will you be able to see our facial expressions on YouTube when that happens.
Which are priceless.
Priceless, obviously.
Seriously.
So we have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Regarding the State of the Union.
Yes, the State of the Union, where our genius president tells us how strong and united we are.
Strong and nimble and failing and...
He left that part out.
Yeah, he did.
We're united.
He did. We're united and we're standing and we're gonna be in a victory. And he made it seem like we're already in a victory.
Well, okay, so he started it off, obviously addressing the news of the day, which is the situation with Russia and Ukraine.
Of course.
But he talked to he promoted the Ukrainian people and praised them for, standing their ground and fighting back.
Because that's what a decent human being
against
would do
Russia.
At this point. Yeah.
They're not going to roll over.
Yeah, of course.
They've fought for and earned their sovereignty.
Yeah.
Years ago. So they're going to fight to keep it.
Continue.
So they're doing what we would expect them to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no.
They're doing what I would hope that Americans would do.
Yeah.
If we were in that situation.
What any sovereign country who's proud of their country and wants to keep their country,
of course,
would do.
Mm-hmm.
But he spoke about it in a way that he's almost like giving a victory speech for Ukraine when it's not over.
It's not over yet.
It is not over. And Putin continues to ramp up his operations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure the Ukrainians were like, yeah, thanks for the acknowledgement, but we were hoping for a little bit more.
Where's all the things that you're supposed to be sending our way here?
Yeah.
It's like, if you really want to help, you could do a lot more than what you're doing. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's obvious steps to us, you and I, as to what we could do.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear any of those.
No. I think, was it Levin who was saying that there were like talks in November of sending missiles over to Ukraine just in case that something like that were to happen? I think I heard that on Levin. I'm not really sure, so take that however you want to take that. But if there was, then obviously somebody higher up had an idea that something may have been going on, and they didn't do anything to stop it.
Well, there's also reports out that Putin asked President Xi of China,
of course, to
wait until after the Olympics were done. Did I get that backwards? No, Putin asked...
That would make sense, though, right?
Or President Xi asked Putin not to invade... Okay. Yeah, I got it backwards.
Okay.
So he asked him not to invade Ukraine until after the Olympics were over, because, of course, don't steal my thunder.
Yeah.
I got the eyes of the world right now. You wait your turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but I mean, that goes to show with their goes to show you how close they are, I guess, as a buddy system anyway. Yeah, and then our president gave them 3 months worth of information we had on Russia in a plea for help, and then Chinese people, or the Chinese government anyway, decided to just hand that on over to Russia. It's like,
yeah, because why not?
How I don't get how you can be any more oblivious, brain dead. How you can be so incredibly naive to just give away American intelligence, especially to China, who we know are, I guess, sympathizers for that way of governing.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot that took place, a lot that we could talk about with the State of the Union. Things that stuck out to us largely had to do with it's like that you're in an election season because the verbiage changed. Things that they've been promoting are suddenly now reversed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got rid of mask mandates right before.
Yeah, we dropped mask mandates. The CDC's changed their tune, and people, I mean, you keep hearing reporters asking them, what science changed? And you don't ever get a clear answer.
No.
Because political science is the only thing that is in play here.
Exactly. Actual science has not changed whatsoever. Actual science has said the whole time that, we don't necessarily need these things. And then the CDC just came out and confirmed that, when it was convenient for them. And that just happens to be before the president's big speech, and it happens to be close to midterm election season. So
but one of the bigger topics was at one point he said that we should not defund the police.
The clear answer was to fund the police and not to defund the police.
Yeah, excuse me. What have we been hearing for the past, I don't know, 2 years?
Yeah.
Defund the police.
Yeah, and that was met with, I think, from just the sound of the applause, pretty much the entire room was applauding for that. And the camera wasn't on the specific people who have been rallying for defunding the police, so I don't know if they clapped or not. But it sure did seem like most of the Democrats were like, yeah, that's a good idea. And like 2 years ago, they were all, defund the police.
As long as the American people don't have memories,
yeah,
we're good.
As long as our approval rating goes up, maybe.
We're golden here because they don't remember that we were the ones out saying to defund the police.
Yeah, we were the ones that were rallying to get rid of the people who make the community safe and, actually guarantee that, well, not guarantee. There's still flaws with a lot of different things that go on. The response times anyway are, not necessarily a guarantee, but they at least help to make the community a lot safer than if they weren't there.
Yeah. But it's just funny how they changed their tune. I mean, his whole verbiage has changed. I mean, he was still promoting his Build Back Better agenda, but you did not hear those words. You did not hear Build Back Better at all. Because,
like right before that, they were like, "Don't say Build Back Better." Yeah. They ran him through this list of like, "Don't say this."
And why? Because that policy has stalled and it's not advancing. So, and they know they're tanking in the polls. So. They're not going to continue, or they are going to continue to promote their awful agenda.
Of course. It's going to be sugar-coated. It's going to be completely
They're just going to paint
it
in a different light and make it seem like it's the wonderful utopia that we all want to live in, and we'll all not have any possessions, and we'll be so happy.
And there won't be any police. Oh, wait, never mind. There will be police.
Wait, we got to fund the police now.
We got to fund the police now. Okay.
So we got to find a different way.
So, of course, most of their base that had supported defunding the police is all up in arms now because they're like, wait a second, where were you 2 years ago? And now that you've just changed your mind all of a sudden, we can't count on you. And it's like, you can't win with that. I don't understand how that strategy works because at one point you're trying to appease the people who actually want to fund the police, and then at the same time you're angering most of your base, I would argue, that wants to defund the police. So it's like,
yeah, there's a war within the Democratic Party. I mean, it's easily to tell.
Yeah. But we do have videos proving.
Yeah, in case some of you have forgotten.
Yeah, what happened about 18 months ago. That's when a certain video that we have. I don't know how far back the video of Biden goes, but I do know that the video we have of all the different, most of the different Democratic senators and what have you, whatever those people are, they're all Democrats anyway, them saying defund the police, that goes back 18 months ago. So just for context.
We'll start with our President Bumbler.
This is when he was running for president, I believe.
Able to have transparency, be able to have access to the records of police when they have misconduct charges against them, to be able to know where they are. So they can't go from one police department to the next. That should be held in my administration. That information will have to be made available to the Justice Department and held in a file. So you'll be able to track this. Surplus military equipment for law enforcement. They don't need that. The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people. So my generic point is that...
Do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that we also need to be doing is fundamentally changing the way, and I've been pushing it for years, changing the way we deal with our prison system. It should be a rehabilitation system, not a punishment system.
Not a punishment
We're
system.
going to make sure that you're qualified for every single right you had before you went to prison if you served your time.
Excuse
and that
me.
means that...
So, if you're a criminal, though, shouldn't you, I mean, you go in, commit a crime heinous enough to land you in prison. That's kind of the idea of prison.
Yeah.
Like, you
disobey the American system, right? You disobeyed our laws, so now you don't get to live as a law-abiding citizen.
Like, you're not free anymore.
Yeah, you don't get that right anymore because you violated the terms, I guess. You violated the terms and conditions. Read the fine print, people.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be all sympathetic. And that's a big problem that we have now. You know, we see crime running rampant, and it's because all of these liberal cities have district attorneys who are soft on crime. And even, I believe, his Supreme Court nominee, soft on crime.
Yeah.
Let's move on to...
So that was Biden's previous position, obviously. Do you agree that we should defund the police? Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. We should reallocate funding.
Not remove funding, but to
remove, reallocate, call it what you want.
Yeah.
It's defunding the police.
And it's defunding the police. And he agreed to it. And then just a couple days ago, he's like, oh, the clear answer is to fund the police. So
let's move to some of our other favorite people.
Our favorite Democrats.
We'll start with this wonderful face.
So we've been talking about defunding the police.
There's some issues that we ask police to do, like mental health issues or policing in schools and all the rest, that perhaps we can shuffle some of that money around.
Suck it up. Defunding the police has to happen. We need...
Whoa.
I don't know. Who is that? Is
Eric
that
Corey Bush.
Corey Bush.
Take some of the money from policing, about $150 million.
I applaud.
Why does it keep pausing?
Because slow speed, I guess.
Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
That's Talib,
So yes,
correct?
defund your butts. Defund you.
Yes,
Bush
I
again.
support the reallocation of resources from NYPD.
We will be moving funding from the NYPD
Bill de Blasio.
to youth initiatives and social services.
They are talking about reducing the allocation of resources to that department. And I think every single city in this country ought to be thinking about.
Okay, well, this whole this is 7 minutes long, and you get the idea.
Yeah, you get the idea.
Democrat after Democrat after Democrat, defund the police, dismantle the police, and then, State of the Union rolls around, and your poll numbers are in the tank.
The biggest person that I think that's in there is Nancy Pelosi, because she's the second one in there, as you can obviously tell by her voice. And she's so very clearly saying, we can shuffle around the funds and we can move them somewhere else. And then not like 2-3 days ago, that depending on when you're listening to this, it'll probably be way after, but she is standing behind the president clapping for him to fund the police. So it's like double standard much?
I know.
That's the message that they're sending, though. It's like you can't. That's what I mean. You can't win. You can't win with that. I don't think you can win with that at all on any side. I mean, if that's their tactic going into elections, how does it? I don't get the thinking behind it, because you're not winning on either side. Because we all know that you're lying and you're only upsetting your base. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the logic is. I don't know that there is logic behind it.
Probably not. They're probably just grasping at any amount of attention.
They're so used to living outside of reality and continuing to peddle lies. They did it all throughout the Trump administration.
Of course.
And they continue to do it. CNN, they just promote lies, and that's it.
Speaking of big lie, or at least big cover-ups, of course, nothing was said of the 13 American soldiers that were killed in Afghanistan trying to evacuate people who should have been evacuated long before we pulled out of there. We shouldn't have pulled out of there in the manner that we did. It was all in Biden's hands, and he did nothing to stop it. So, of course, he's not going to get up there and talk about his entire failures. We get that. Pretty much every single president's going to get up there and, want as much praise as possible. That's normal and natural. That's what happens. However, he's in this clip we're about to play. He is talking about the many soldiers that have been fighting in the Middle East that I guess are near burn pits, and they come home and they get cancer, and that will put them in a flag-draped coffin. So there's two things that come out of this. First of all, Nancy does a very weird...
this is the most bizarre reaction I have seen out of Nancy Pelosi.
It is strange beyond... It goes beyond strange. It's just... there's no words. There's really no words. So you just have to see this.
Now, keep in mind the context of the things that he is saying.
He's talking about soldiers who are coming home in flag-draped coffins, or at least not. He hasn't gotten to that point. He's in the middle of describing the soldiers who are living next to burn pits.
Yeah, so watch this reaction.
Anytime. It goes a little something like
faced in
this.
Afghanistan face many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits.
She looks like a giddy 5-year-old.
I've been in and out of a...
So everybody else claps.
Like, what the heck are we getting excited about?
But, he's mid-sentence, and you can already see the excitement welling up in her. And she's like... I'm so excited.
He's getting ready to talk about soldiers dying from burn pits.
I have no clue what she was thinking.
What in the world?
But the only thing I can imagine her thinking is that she's seen the speech and that she knows what's coming up, and that the thing that's coming up is a big clapping point. So she's like getting ready to clap. But the main thing is she doesn't clap. She just does this weird wrist rub thing. It's the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen at any.
She wasn't the only one that seemed to miss her cue.
Mm-hmm.
There's one point, I don't have a clip of it ready, but of Chuck Schumer, and I forget what Biden's talking about at that point.
If you were watching it, he was talking about the American rebuild plan, whatever he put into legislation anyway. And
he was getting ready to
basically Build Back Better, the beginning of Build Back Better passed into law, and of course Chucky Schumer is all
so he's getting ready for
giddy
the
about
the
it because he
line.
Knows what's going to happen.
But he stood up way too early, and it's so cringeworthy to watch.
If you were watching it live, he basically gets up and he starts and he goes,
and then he kind of stands. He stays standing, and then he kind of looks around the room. And then he kind of starts to slowly sink back down, and then the applause line comes in. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is the problem. It's so predictable. They know what he's going to say. They know exactly what he's going to talk about. It's going to be Build Back Better. So they're all ready, let's get ready to clap. But so that's the first thing that comes out of it is Nancy Pelosi does this real weird thing. She's
so bizarre.
She's a giddy 5-year-old about soldiers dying.
Like somebody's
apparently.
dangling a cookie in front of her.
I know. She is so ready to get up there and clap.
And she chewed the cud all the way throughout the speech. Her mouth was always moving.
This weird thing where she's just always...
She's always licking her tongue or licking her lips or licking her teeth or something.
I don't know what that is. I can't even tell you. What would that be? unless she just ate before. She has tons of stuff stuck in her teeth.
Or she's got some kind of dentures or something.
Maybe
that
she's
getting
holding
used to.
dentures. Maybe it's just so uncomfortable in her mouth. Maybe she's had Botox injections there, and who knows. But that's the first thing. Second thing is right after that remark, right after Nancy gets up and does her little giddy dance, whatever that is, then what's her name? Lauren Boebert takes the opportunity when there is a lull in the crowd after they get done clapping for his remarks about the soldiers coming home in flag-draped coffins. She takes the moment to say, "You did that. 13 of them." So it was at that moment that I began screaming at the television, going, yes, she said it. She said something to remind Americans what happened in Afghanistan, because we all know he wasn't going to say anything about it, and we all know they want us to forget about it. So it was at that point, I didn't have any clue who said it, because the camera was on Biden. And then I think later in the night, she had tweeted that she had said that.
Yeah,
so
she owned up to it.
That's how we know that she said that. I don't think we have a clip of that. I didn't prepare it anyway.
No, I don't have it ready. You'll have to Google that.
Yeah. It's all over the internet. She sparked a huge fire by saying that, because, you know,
and she's taking a lot of heat from the left. I mean, all the usual liberals, the wackos on The View, lashing out at her. Go, he was talking about his son Bo and how he's a tragedy of war,
and that somehow means
you're just
that
trying
no
to gain
longer
political points.
Yeah, that mentioning dead soldiers at the hand of an incompetent president is not worth mentioning. At that point, I think it was great, because you gotta love free speech. I mean, that's great. I mean,
now, this was kind of the equivalent to I've forgotten his name now. When Obama was giving his State of the Union speech in 2016, I believe it was, one of the I think was he a representative or a congressman? I can't even remember who it was now. Can't remember his name.
Actually, we do have coming up a clip of Nancy's response to Lauren's shout, I guess, and the question that's asked her.
References the name of the guy.
He references the name of the guy.
But he basically yelled out, "You lie," to Obama. And that's the first, kind of outburst that I've seen in a State of the Union, and it prompted, legislation against such a thing. But
which is so ridiculous. It really
is. On
really
one hand, I think on the other hand, though, I mean, that is there should be some kind of decorum.
Yeah, there should be
kept. Obviously they're two separate parties, and independents in the mix. They're not going to agree on everything.
Of course,
you shouldn't use a national broadcast to sit there and have a debate with one another.
Correct.
But of anyone who deserved a mention in the State of the Union, it was those 13 that gave their lives in Afghanistan. And he's completely ignored it, turned his back on him, has moved on. I mean, we don't hear anything about Afghanistan anymore, and there's still people trapped over there.
I agree with the statement that you shouldn't use those kind of events to say anything. I guess that would be divisive, whatever. I don't even know how to say that. Yeah. But at the same time, this president is extraordinarily wacko. He wasn't. When else are you going to get an opportunity for most of the nation to see?
This is a guy who doesn't even take reporter questions.
Exactly.
I mean, after every speech, he just turns and walks away.
Eventually, at some point in America's history and future, you have to do something about it, especially at this time when this guy is nowhere to be found. There's a war going on in Ukraine, and he's in Delaware.
Yeah.
This guy's not doing anything, and he's not taking any questions.
Not a leader.
People are not getting that message pushed in front of them, and what better time to mention it? Now, I think there's a difference between disrupting a speech and waiting until there's a lull in the crowd when he's paused in what he's saying and mention in passing that there are 13 soldiers that he's responsible for. And I think there's a difference between like kind of an uprising and just shut down the speech, and obviously that shouldn't happen.
Right.
But I don't think it should be outlawed for you to be able to say something.
No, I don't think so either. You just don't want to devolve into like third world countries.
It's one of those things where it's like there's a
start
narrow
throwing
line, and
bows
you have to walk that tightrope basically, where it's like, do you want to do this, but it can lean the other way, and it's very hard to pinpoint certain things, and that things like that happen all the time here in America because we've got so many things that go on.
But I saw somebody post something like, you know, I can't get behind a person like Lauren Boebert because he's not the type of Republican that should be in the party, and I kind of really disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think we need more of these kind of Republicans that are willing to put themselves out there and stand up for, you know, tragedies such as this.
Because the only class of Republicans we have in the Republican Party currently today, when they have power, when they have the House, when they have the Senate, when they have the presidency, they don't do anything. They sit. They
go to Washington
on
to
their
pad their
hands,
wallets
and they do nothing. They sit there and, well, we gotta ask the other side first. We gotta ask to see what they think. And I am not at all advocating for just one party making decisions.
No.
But at the same time, when you are given the authority by the American people, when you're put in positions of power to do the things that the American people would like for you to do, and you sit there and do nothing and you wait to be told what other people would like for you to do, and you come up with some sort of hodgepodge of a legislation that kind of is like wishy-washy on pretty much everything, and you do nothing to actually stand up for what's in the Constitution, we have a very few, like a handful of senators who will actually do things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about time that we
begging
actually,
for more of them.
Because I mean, when the Democrats get power, as we have seen in these past few years, look at everything that they do in the past 2-3. If you want to go even further than that, you can say, you know, ever since Trump got out of office, anyway, ever since they've gained control, look at how far we have gone. They take the opportunities that they have, and we do nothing. We sit and we're at a stalemate. We make no progress, and they're able to just wash over everything. And then, you know, as we've seen with the American people, when it's just shoved down your throat, when it's pushed in front of you, and you don't have another force that's saying, no, that's not true, that's not right, we need to stop this, then people get complacent, and they start to not really recognize that there's a force there, that there's people who care, because all they see, the face of the Republican Party, is, what are we going to do? And then they sit on their hands, and we're like, well.
Or they pretend.
We don't know.
To care and be on your side and end up like the Mitch McConnells who sometimes say the right things, but then turns around and does completely opposite, you know, in his actions.
I think behind the curtain, some things that we just don't see are, I think a lot of the people who are in Washington get along quite well with each other.
Oh, yeah.
They may argue and put up, you know, fronts on camera, or at least when they're in front of an audience. But I think behind the scenes, they're all just. I don't think that obviously there's some that are just total like mortal enemies, but there are others who just.
And you don't want them at war with one another.
Of course,
I mean,
not.
You're
We're
supposed
America.
to be cordial. This is America.
We're Americans, but at the same time, you shouldn't start being dissuaded from your point of view to be in cahoots with people, because you can be persuaded very easily. Money talks.
Yes, sure does. Has made a lot of decisions in Washington.
Tell me about it. I don't think we need to tell you guys about it. I mean, obviously, we're all living through this. But yeah, it's something. So how much time do we have left?
We're at the 30-minute mark now. So let's play this clip of, so Nancy Pelosi is asked what her reaction is to the outburst by Lauren Boebert at the State of the Union. And this is what she had to say.
Last question. On the State of the Union, we did see numerous outbursts from Representatives Goldberg and Green during President Biden's speech. As I'm sure you probably remember when Congressman Joe
Internet
Wilson yelled "You lie" at President Obama in 2000.
I'm not sure why we're so slow today.
We apologize for the
House actually passed a resolution of disapproval on that. We haven't heard any talk about that now, but I'm wondering just what is your reaction to those outbursts? Should any action be taken? And what does it say about the House Representatives?
Let me just say this.
Watch her anger.
I agree with what Senator Lindsey Graham said. Shut up. That's what he said to them. I think they should just shut up. Thank you all very much.
Speaker of the House, ladies and gentlemen, this is your representative.
Yeah, so she seems to be very aggressive towards any kind of grandstanding. But those of us with memories remember Trump's State of the Union speech, where she stood up proudly and ripped up his speech afterwards, right in front of the camera, knowing that she was being watched. The hypocrisy is astounding.
It is. But you see how much these people absolutely loathe when they are called into question, when they are shown resistance, because you can see it in her face. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it.
Dare you ask me that question?
You can hear it in her voice as well. Shut up. I think they should just shut up. And then she walks away happily, and that's the Speaker of the House. Like that, she's not saying that to the people who said it. I don't think. She seems very clear that she's looking beyond the camera and at everybody who would dare question
her.
That you all should shut up. Your opinion doesn't matter. So I guess it just brings up the question of what do you do in times where nobody wants to hear what you have to say, and when you try to stand up for what's right, you're silenced, and the only opportunities that you have, everybody's at your throat about it, and there's not an easy answer to that other than just
keep speaking up. Can't give up.
Yeah. It's like I guess to have, if there's one thing that the Ukrainian people have taught us, it's that when, you are facing insurmountable odds, like just incredible amount of force coming their way, and they're holding firm. They're standing fast.
They are courageous.
They're holding their own. And I guess that's something that we should all take away from that. All we have to do is, as of right now, protect our freedom of speech and protect our liberties.
Yeah.
And we're not at war. But
in the meantime, our military is focused on being woke.
Yeah. Yeah. Under the Biden administration, I guarantee you, as soon as somebody actually gets in there and starts re-evaluating the military situation and is looking at how much damage the Biden administration has done, they're going to have a lot of work to do. And that's for sure.
Pretty sure no other country's shaking in their boots.
No, that's for sure.
But we will call them by their proper pronouns.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. But
come on.
Times get tougher and tougher, America, but through it all, we're still Americans, and we have the responsibility, the duty, and really, we should all have the want to protect our liberties, especially our freedom of speech. And if it means that you have to disrupt, I guess, a very formal event to make one thing known, something that's very important, something that the world's forgot about, practically, do it. I don't think that
have the courage to stand up, speak out.
Yeah, it's a liberty that you have. It's the freedom of speech, and if you let them take it away, then you don't really have a whole lot.
Yeah. So then, after the State of the Union, of course, the next morning, Kamala Harris goes on all the morning talk shows, and she's asked, difficult questions, and basically to defend everything that Joe didn't say.
Yeah.
And explain, other things that he did say.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you watch montage after montage of those interviews, she falls flat on her face.
Of course. That's what
she can't
she's
explain
a professional fall on her face.
Yeah. We have a clip of her. I don't know if this was the following day.
Yes.
Or not.
This is what is it? The morning after. This is the morning after the State of the Union.
Okay. And she is asked about, the things that Joe went on and on about sanctions and stuff that he was putting in place and how he was aligning with our allies to, put the hurt on Putin.
Side note, we're still buying over 600,000 barrels of oil from Russia.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Like we said before, there's clear things that we could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're not going to.
No. But sanctions are the answer.
Of course.
Meanwhile, we continue to provide them with American dollars for their oil.
Yeah, so this is a very short clip, and it tells you really all you really need to know about the logic that is used in this administration.
So what else do we have to throw at this when Putin so far is undeterred?
Well, we are going to continue to do what we've done.
There's your answer.
What, you mean all those things that aren't working?
All the things, yeah, exactly. Because everybody knows that if you try to do something, if you continue doing something that's not working, eventually it's going to work.
Eventually it's going to work. What was the definition of stupidity?
I guess my definition of stupidity is somebody who doesn't learn from their mistakes, or somebody who keeps trying something that is very clearly
keep
not
doing
working.
the same things over and over and expecting a different outcome.
That's basically what the administration is doing.
Yeah,
that's literally all that they're doing.
Yeah, let's keep doing that. I mean, why reinvent the wheel? It's working.
It just goes to show you. I mean, that's exactly their plan for pretty much everything. We've seen that with pretty much everything.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. How are we going to fix the border? We're going to continue to do what we're doing, which isn't working. Border's still not fixed. How are we going to get the people out of Afghanistan? Well, we're going to stick with our plan. We're going to keep it going. Still people stuck in Afghanistan.
There's also another clip of her that I don't have, unfortunately, but it's been making its rounds around the internet. I think it's a radio show or a podcast or something that she was on, and they asked her to say, tell us in layman's terms what the situation is with Russia and Ukraine. It's like she goes on like, we'll see, over in Europe, there's this country.
It's a small country.
It's a small country, and it's called Ukraine.
And there's a big country.
And then next to it is a big country. And we call that country Russia. And that bigger country, Russia, decided to invade the smaller I mean, it's like she's talking to a 3-year-old.
And she finishes it with, and that's wrong.
And that's like, wrong.
Thank you. I had no clue that was wrong until our vice president decided to tell me about it. It's like, her layman's terms are like,
I'm pretty sure that's not what the interviewer had in mind.
Apparently not.
Like, tell us a little bit more of, like, the politics behind it, or...
I think at this point, nobody can really put their finger on why he's doing what he's doing, why Putin's doing what he's doing, for the exact reason anyway, other than, he's Putin.
He just wants to rebuild the Soviet Union.
Yeah, but you could have probably made it something like, I don't know, you understand that Putin's a big, powerful guy. And there have been talks recently about, Putin's been gathering military power. We've seen that he's been, earlier, he's been gathering around the border. We knew this was going to start taking place. And this is what's been happening. But, everything's like, take that time to be like, okay, but we've got this under control, which would be an obvious lie. But it would still be something that would be much better than there was a small country. And a big country invaded the small country, and that's a bad thing. I think she also added in there that it was unprovoked, or that they were doing it because, just because they could. And then that's when she added that's a bad thing. So just so you're clear, when a country invades another country and starts, just winging shots at other people who are not doing anything to them.
Yeah, not hitting military bases, but hitting communities and neighborhoods.
Of course.
Yeah. That's bad.
That's bad. And Kamala wants you to know that.
It's a good thing we do. And I'm so glad she brought it down to our terms.
You know what my theory is? She's so used to explaining things to Biden that way. That
could be.
She thinks that the American people need to be explained to that way.
It could very well be that.
Can you see that happening? Like the situation with the border, she was put on border patrol or whatever her job was that she still hasn't done a great job with. She was supposed to be the
head person down at the border. She was going to head up that situation.
And I can imagine they sit down before a meeting and he's like, "Why am I here?
Tell me again.
Why am I putting you down on the border?" And she sits down. "Listen, Joe, there's a big country below us, and we do not want the people coming across illegally, but we secretly do. But you don't want the American people to know that.
We can't say that out loud, Joe.
So listen, Joe, that's bad. And you need to make sure that you say that in your next speech, okay? So don't forget about that."
Okay. It's humorous and sad to watch.
It's sad.
I think it was either today or yesterday, Biden actually approached some reporters on his way to the helicopter. And Jill was nearby listening. And, the first couple of questions were, just easy softball questions.
Along
for
the
him
lines
to answer.
of other softball questions.
But then somebody else spoke up and asked him about his stance on abortion, because that was also another key point in his State of the Union address, where he is
all for the women's right to choose.
Women's right to choose, and we have to stand up for women's health.
Must murder children.
How murdering children is women's health, I don't know. But it's at that point, she just walks up to him and like nudges his shoulder. He's like, and then he gets the, that's his cue.
That's the cue to stop talking.
Come on, honey, we gotta go. And like takes his hand and leads him away. It's sad. I mean, this man should not be in office. Things happen for a reason, and these people are in places of power for a reason. I happen to think and believe that it's to wake us up.
Of course.
So hopefully that happens and we wake up sooner than later.
Of course. Like if we don't wake up, then it will get worse.
It will get worse. Yeah. So like I said, a lot to cover with the State of the Union. There's no way we're going to touch even half of it.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps up today's show. Look for us again next week. Usually put these out on every Friday.
Or just weekend, whenever we can.
Whenever we can make it happen.
Whenever we have time. Correct.
All right.
Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. And of course, we look forward to seeing you again.
Till then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.